Hi, we're back. We're in our classroom with Coach S to talk about mussels, but not those kind of mussels. These kind of mussels. All right, we're gonna look at freshwater mussels, which are a type of mollusk, which is the second, third to last group of invertebrates that we're talking about here. They are in kingdom Animalia because they're animals. They don't have a backbone. These guys are mollusks because they have the 4 characteristics of a mollusk, which is a shell, mantle, foot, and visceral mass. These guys within the mollusk phylum are bivalves because they have 2 valves, meaning these shell pieces. So 1, 2. It's incredible stuff. We're going to pop these guys open today, but in the process, we're going to look at a couple important features. At this point in time, you have a copy of the dissection procedure in that mega packet that we sent home, and then you also have your mussel anatomy diagram, which you want to be looking at as we move through this process to make sure you can identify the important structures within our freshwater mussel. Okay, we're going to start on the outside. So if we look at this guy, where's my camera? Let's look this way. We're going to notice that he's got like this funny hump here on the back, and then also on this side. Coach, can you find your funny little humps?
Funny humps.
Funny humps, nice. One of our funny humps is bigger than the other funny humps.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be this one.
Yep.
This guy here is your umbo. Your umbo is the youngest part of your mussel. It's the newest part. And if you notice as you look down your mussel, you can see all these rings. Those are rings of growth. So every year your mussel adds a new ring, kind of like a tree, which is kind of cool. So the bigger the shell, the older your mussel is. So this is your youngest part of the shell. It's an important piece probably on your post lab. The youngest part is the umbo. These lines of growth tell you how old it is. Yeah, but umbo is a pretty sweet name. All right, that's all we care about on the outside. What we're gonna do to open this guy up, and Coach, you're gonna need to make some decisions here. So your mussel has like an opening here, and our Carolina people were nice enough to put like a little stick in it to keep it kind of pried open for us. The clam is held shut. This is not a clam, sorry, it's a mussel. These mussels are held shut by 2 internal muscles that are located on either side of the umbo. So there's like a line of muscle here and a line of muscle here that's job it is to keep this guy nice and shut. So I've already sawed through mine because I came prepared, unlike some people. Just kidding, Coach is prepared. So here's one of those muscle pieces, and then here's the other one. But they kind of act like big grips that seal this guy nice and shut. So Coach is you're gonna take this scalpel, and you're going to kind of slide it through here and kind of saw it towards the edge, away from your fingers. It's going to take a little bit of brute forcing.
I don't want to break it.
You can't. It's impossible to break this guy. Excellent. And then if we need to, we've got our cool screwdriver to pop him open. Excellent. Good form. You need muscles to play with mussels. I'm gonna use that joke probably 6 times because I think it's hilarious. Our shell is made up of 3 different layers, and we're looking at the outermost layer right now. The innermost layer is that shiny stuff that we're gonna see here in just a minute. This clam's been through some tough times. You want this guy for some leverage? This guy's been through some tough times. You can just kind of see that shiny layer popping through. Yeah, at this point we're just gonna rip it open. Gave you the hardest to open muscle.
I don't think I cut enough.
Oh man, it's a little...
That or I don't have enough muscles.
You should be doing those PE courses, workout exercises that I've been suggesting.
Yeah, grip training.
Grip training.
Ready?
Aha! I hear it. Excellent. And now we pop open this cool muscle. Rip. Nice. Oh, beautiful. Look at that guy. He looks lovely. In fact, this is actually way cool because you can still see the muscle. So here, this is called our adductor muscle. And its job is to keep the muscle nice and closed. You can see that it's kind of starting to come apart, coming apart. Here it is, this guy. Ta-da. Nice. This is a lovely job.
Do you know that you have an adductor on your leg?
What?
That's the part of your leg that closes them together.
Get out of here. This guy
adductor.
This guy closed. I wonder if all adductors keep things closed. It's incredible. What a world we live in. It's amazing. Blows my mind, actually.
We're kind of like mussels.
I love it. We have a backbone, though. So here are your adductor muscles. Here's one, here's the other, and their job is to keep this guy nice and shut. If we're looking at this guy here, we're also going to see what we're going to call the hinge seals, which job it is to keep the hinge nice and sealed. It's a little tricky to see, but they're going to be this guy right here, kind of snapped a little bit. But it's this edge here, acts as kind of like these teeth-like projections, whose job it is to keep your hinge nice and shut. This is a lovely specimen, may I say. You did a terrific job of ripping him apart. So now we're inside of our, actually yours is better than this one, so.
Yeah,
It
my
is
visceral
actually.
mass is like way better.
It is a lot, the visceral mass is a lot better. Nice. So we want to be able to find those 4 characteristics of mollusks in our cool mussel here. So first things first, we're going to look at the shell. We can see it on the outside. We're like, wow, it's cool. It's got these lines of growth. It's nice and hard. What's the function of the shell? Any guesses, Coach S? Why something would want a shell?
For protection.
Protection! Nice! Look at all these squishy soft insides, right? Like it needs something to keep them nice and safe. So that shell is mostly there for protection. When we're specifically looking at our bivalves, what we care about is this inner layer of the shell. Not this squishy stuff right here, but this shiny hard part. Kind of looks like a pearl, if you will. That's called your nacreous layer. Your nacreous layer is this shiny interior layer of your shell. It's formed first. So that nacreous layer forms, and then there's another layer, and then your hard, like, outer shell. But this nacreous layer is part of your shell, but it's nice and shiny. That's the part that pearls are made out of, if you want to be fancy. On top of our shell, we have this, it's like a soft tissue. It's kind of slimy. It's really, really thin. You can feel it. It's like really, really smooth. This is your mantle.
It is really smooth.
Yeah, so this mantle lines the inside of your shell. It's actually on both sides. You can see it over here as well. Its job is basically to protect your visceral mass, the soft, squishy junk, from your nice hard shell. So this mantle is a protection layer for your inside, which is kind of a cool thing here. On this one, you can kind of see it as well. Here's that mantle, and then that mantle again underneath all the stuff on the inside of this other layer. Nice.
Yeah. Cool. Mantle on the other side too.
Yes, so double mantle, double shell, which is why this guy is a cool bivalve. So we got our shell, we got our mantle. Next piece we care about is our foot. What do you think the foot is for?
Kicking soccer balls.
You are right. Mussels are super good at playing soccer. No, they're good at moving around. So we're going to use that foot mostly for movement. So it's this guy right here. It's a hard piece. It's really big, actually. It goes all the way from here to here. Coach, you want to push on that and tell me what it feels like?
So it feels pretty tough.
Tough.
Yeah.
So this
it's not squishy.
Not squishy at all, right? Especially if you compare it to your other visceral mass pieces. Like this top layer, pretty squishy. This foot, and this one, it's a lot smaller. This guy's pretty wimpy. This foot's like really hard, like a dried out piece of chicken. Pretty firm, because that's a really strong muscle. That foot needs to be nice and tough so that it can propel your muscle through the water. It's used a lot for digging, getting it like locked into place, which is kind of cool. This is the part typically you would eat. If you were to eat some mussels. Yeah, but it's really, really hard. It's really, really tough and rubbery because its job is really to move this big, heavy mussel through the water. So that's a pretty cool piece for us. Reminder that your foot looks different in a lot of your different mollusks, right? A snail has that like long, slimy body. That's its foot. Your octopus has tentacles that are its foot. Then this guy's got like this weird, like lumpy, hard mussel-shaped thing. Kind of cool.
Interesting.
All right, so we got shell, we got mantle, we got a foot. Next piece we care about is our visceral mass, which is basically everything else. So let's look at it in a little bit of detail. If we're starting up top here, these like floppy layer pieces that are on top of your foot as well as underneath your foot, right down here. Let me get my pointer sticker thing. Yeah, so you've got some here, here, and here. These are your gills, actually. So what happens is water comes into your mussel over this way, draws water over the gills pull out the oxygen, gas exchange happens, and then the water is shot out through the seam. Same side. Oh, I was wrong. It comes in over on this side. My bad, team. Water comes in over this way, travels across the gills. No, that doesn't make sense. I was right. I'm sorry. Water comes in over here, travels across the gills, comes back out. But these gills here, purpose is to breathe. Everything's got to breathe. But those are doing the breathing. Couple other cool parts for us. Let's see if we can find the mouth, which is going to be over this way. We're going to find, they're called palps. And your palp is like a soft, oh, here's your palp right here. This palp here's job is basically to funnel food into your muscle's mouth. And there's gonna be like a little hole, that's part of our muscle. Here's our foot. Where's our mouth? Here's the intestine. You wanna see some, what it was eating last?
Yes. What do mussels eat?
They are filter feeders, so they're gonna eat small microscopic particles that exist in the water. So like small pieces. So I'm actually gonna remove some of these gills because right now they're just in our way.
Not popcorn.
Not popcorn. Not popcorn. A lot of plankton. A lot of like marine worms. Some microscopic particles for the most part. Okay. So here we just took out the gills because they're big and floppy and kind of get in our way. This dark line that we're seeing is our intestine. So this black stuff here is digested food. Gross. Which is kind of cool. But what's neat here about specifically our mussels is that their intestine actually travels right past their heart, which is kind of a little bit dangerous in case there's ever a rupture or anything. But this intestine here comes out through the butt over on this side. If we travel it backwards, travels all the way up here. Your heart is going to be underneath this guy over this way. And then its mouth then needs to be over here. Haha! All right, so it's a little tricky to see. It's actually really tricky to see. But your
do you want
mouth.
me to hold it and you
I
point
do.
her
That'd be
at it?
awesome. Thanks. I'm just like. Oh, awesome. Cool.
Is that good?
That's awesome. So its mouth is actually going to be right in this little gap down this way. So here's your adductor muscle that we cut through. Here's your foot, and here's part of your palps. So these palps here funnel food down into this gap right here. Food goes into that gap and then travels through the intestine up this way. Here's like basically the contents of your stomach, and then it gets pooped out right here. Here's the end of your intestine. There's your anus. That's pretty much all that's to our muscle. They're not super complicated. They eat things and they move around. Big takeaways for us here, things that we really want to make sure we're feeling A-okay with. This idea of a foot being this like big, gigantic monstrosity that pretty much dominates our muscle because it basically controls everything that your muscle can do. No central brain, right? No brain in this guy. Gills for breathing, a hard shell for protection, and a mantle to kind of soften the blow between your visceral mass and your hard shell.
Are they kind of like the same on both sides?
They are. In fact, they have what we're going to call bilateral symmetry, right? So you take this guy and you could split him right down the middle. We've got the same thing on either end. In fact, most of the animals that we've talked about have just been bilaterally symmetrical on their external features. These guys are actually bilaterally symmetrical on their inside too, right? They've got gills on either side, a mantle on either side of their shell, and that foot kind of right in the middle. Two muscles on either side. There's some pretty fancy stuff. When we come back, you guys will rip them apart yourself in a respectful, dignified way. Oh, nice. This actually looks pretty good. But for right now, I just want you to have some kind of idea of what's inside one of these guys if you ever happen to run across one in the wild. This guy must have had some hard times because look at this weird discoloration in his foot. Right here, the foot looks nice and healthy. It's nice and hard. And then here, you got like this weird, it's like almost crystallized feeling. It's
Yeah.
like squishy.
So this one also has some
Oh, yeah.
discoloration.
That's
but,
true. I wonder if it's an age thing.
Yeah,
Maybe your muscle is younger, but it's bigger.
yeah.
Mysteries.
Well, maybe something in the preservation process too.
That would be, I think, an important feature to keep in mind. Nice.
Wild.
Wild stuff.
Mussels.
Mussels.
Also
All right.
delicious.
Also delicious. Different from your clams and your oysters. Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you so much for teaching me all about mussels.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.